Beyond.
Whoa, that was the best one we've ever done. That was so good. Well, let's quit. What episode is this? This is episode 461.
1280, we're done. Perfect.
461.
Nailed it.
That was the best intro. Thank you for listening for all these years. What?
That's a Tony Hawk move.
That's the resolution of the thumbnail. Anyway, thank you for listening. It's been a great ride. We've had a good time with Beyond, but after that intro, we're never going to do better. So that's the end of the show.
That's it. Thanks for watching.
Yep. Anyway, welcome to Podcast Beyond, episode 461. I'm Max Scoville, joined by Brian Altano.
Brap.
And Andrew Goldfarb.
Brap.
That's your catchphrase. The good old...
It's me.
That's what they say.
The Italian meatball.
Good old
I know what yours is. I love Japanese cats.
Yeah.
I do love Japanese
Good
cats.
old Andrew Goldfrapp. So first things first, I want to talk a little bit. We mentioned this last week. We have a 20th anniversary IGN party that's coming up. That is happening on Saturday, October 15th. I realize it's kind of close. We're having a big old event. You can go to go.ign.com/IGN house party or go to the IGN Twitter, which is just at IGN, and look at the #1 pinned tweet there. We're all going to be there hanging out, having a good time. The day before, that Friday, is going to be a First Friday, which I think is that going to be a freebie? That's everyone can come to that for the hell of it?
Yeah. We're trying to, I think, tie it to the event, but I think there's also a separate sign-up.
You're guaranteed in if you have a ticket to the event. You
Yeah.
get a tour of IGN. You get to see Max and I's desk covered in toys. We get to do a Q&A and a meet and greet.
Yeah, you can steal literally anything you want.
That's
off
not.
of
Don't
Marty's
tell them
desk.
that. Oh, Marty's desk.
Yeah, Marty's desk.
Because it's like his social security guard and airplane booze bottles.
Yeah, Marty needs to learn
a lot of people have been tweeting at us saying that this came in a little hot. It's true. I know flights are expensive, so I'll suggest a thing. Get a car from anywhere.
Get a huge one.
Just get
like
a big car.
really big one.
Put as many people as you can in it and just start driving until you're in San Francisco.
Yeah, little fun fact, the bigger the car is, the faster it goes on account of the size of the wheels. So, on that note, again, that's go.ign.com/IGN house party, and I hope we get to see you there. And if not, I'm sure we'll have lots of blurry pictures from the things we do in the night. Yeah.
That was a threat.
Yeah, the things we do in the night. Watch Dogs 2 is a game that we played.
That's right.
Yeah.
I heard you guys liked it.
Holy
We actually
crap.
put a significant amount of time into that game. There was a preview event here in San Francisco the other day, which is
That's
really,
where the game is set.
which is really cool. I don't think I get to do that a lot. And the game companies always try to do that, where they're like, our game takes place in Paris, so come to Paris. And we're like, we're not going to go to Paris. It's so far. But Ubisoft was like, we're around the corner from you, so come over and play this game that takes place in San Francisco. And Max and I spent probably 3 hours, 2.5, 3 hours.
Yeah, we kind of we would have kept going too. They were like, you could stay late. I should have stayed.
I think I had a meeting with my manager, otherwise I would have been there all afternoon.
I mean, honestly, it's early to say. It's not. We didn't play the finished game. We didn't play any missions. We just screwed around. But I really love that game so far, and I'm really excited about it. What I want that game to be is basically just a goofy Home Alone ass hackathon in San Francisco. I want to just mess around and just screw with people, and we played a little bit of it, and that's exactly what you can do.
Yeah, we kind of specifically were told, okay, so there's other people from IGN capturing missions and going through story sequences. We want you guys to just wreak havoc. So it was pretty awesome. We got to basically get sent into this fake San Francisco as kind of a trolling internet demolition crew.
Also, I love that they were like, do some like controlled hacks and do some like havoc hacks and get weird in there. And you just kept getting in there and just running over people with cars, and you're like, so it was just like, what are you doing?
We did a lot of really fun stuff where, and one of the things I really noticed about the game that I love, and you get it from the best sandbox games, is the sort of chain reaction of things that happen. Like, I love when you're playing a GTA game and you set up a truck that has a flatbed ramp on it, you leave it on the highway, and all of a sudden you sit back.
Like cars rocketing off.
Things just go nuts. Yeah. And so right off the bat, this game is so much more obviously fun. It exuberates a lot more charm than the first game. We kept doing a thing where you can access anybody's phone in the game, and you can use that to steal money from them. You can basically look up who they are. Max kept basically snitching to local gangs that random people on the street were informants for the police. I can't say this without laughing because it's so funny to me.
Yeah, you basically SWAT people in real time.
Yes.
You've got two options. One, you can basically frame people for being gang enemies, and then mobsters show up and just start shooting at them. Or you can basically be like, yeah, this guy's a pederast. And it's like, we kept calling the police on people playing acoustic guitars in parks. And there's like people on benches and he's just like, lesbian seagull. And I'm like, no guitars here. And then I would just like hack him and all these cops would
You
show
just
up.
pull out your phone. You're like, "Excuse me, police. This dude's doing a terrible cover of Wonderwall in the middle of Golden Gate Park." And then a gang comes in. The cops come in. So you basically snitch to the gang that the guy's an informant, and the cops are like, and then the gang's here.
Yeah, and they all start shooting each other.
This guy is in a park. It's just like dun, 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 dun.
Yeah.
He's like, "What is happening?"
The best part though is that like you don't get in trouble for that. Like you have to really.
No one knows it's you. You're in the corner with a remote control with a
basically
drone.
You can just be like sitting by a tree with your little laptop out. And you're just like, hey man, I'm just trying to work on my app, and you're just looking like this stupid tech bro. And there's just like a firefight going on. And then what I love is I've always said that like Titanfall feels like Call of Duty inside Call of Duty.
Yeah.
Like the Titans are kind of like a bigger version of you as like almost like Watch Dogs does sort of a similar thing where you've got basically smaller versions of yourself. Like you've got your little wheelie drone, and then you've got like a flying drone.
So yeah, those are your two main. And then I think you're gonna get a third, which is that kind of R2D2 drone that
I think
we
you have
saw.
to just steal those from people. I think
Those droids, yeah,
because they've shown them like going down Embarcadero or like cleaning.
We got
or whatever the hell they
two.
do.
One of them is this little remote control car that has like big fat wheels and it turns weird, and the other one's a drone that actually floats up in the sky.
It's pretty much the same idea with hacking elements as the owl from Far Cry.
Yeah.
Except you can hover it, and it's great because when you're playing as these things, you're invincible. Like you can't.
Yep.
They're gonna if they're gonna shoot at
and
something,
if they get shot down, it's a video game, so you have more of them. So we were doing cool stuff like you enter this sort of like warehouse with your drone through like a little hatch in the wall or the ceiling or a window, and then you start remote opening all these doors, and all these people are like, "What is going on in here?" And then you go in and just shoot them all if you want, or snitch to the cops and have the cops come in on the gangs. So my favorite thing was just sort of like you're a player, you have robot toys, there's humans who are totally harmless, and then there's gang members and cops, and you can just kind of sit back. You literally sit on the floor with your laptop or your remote control, and you watch all of these different things interact with each other, and you're like, I didn't do it.
Yeah, it's
so
great. Like we messed up this whole, like there's a whole outpost kind of thing, like on just, it was weird because it's also like right down the street from us.
Yeah.
And the whole time the dev is like showing us how to play the game, and we're just like screwing around, and like like you can hack into like a like an air conditioning unit or whatever, some large electrical box, and you can hack into it and make it so that it is not only going to attract attention, but it will also electrocute things.
Yep.
So you basically like hack into an air conditioner or whatever the hell it is, and some guy will be like, hey, what's wrong with that old box over there? I'm going to go investigate it. And then you go over and they just get shocked, and you're like, man, that thing probably was broken.
Dude, I never would have guessed that in 2016 a Watch Dogs game would make me unironically cry laughing.
Yeah.
Like I was in tears. We were like,
God.
The way I'm even telling the story right now, I can't get through without getting tears in my eyes because it was the amount of havoc you can cause. And one of the things I loved was like we went to City Hall in San Francisco, which is the building I got married in, and half a block from there is a theater where I saw a Louis C.K. show like a month ago, and I'm like, these are places like I have connections to, and now 70 gang members are fighting 80 cops. While a woman's like, I didn't do it, and I'm stealing her money with my phone. Yeah, it's so great. It's
also, you can hack into the cars and use them as giant RC cars.
Yep.
So like, I loved it because like we're like, hey, that lady's an insider trader. You should arrest her. And then the cops show up, and they were like, and that man is a snitch. And then the gang show up, and they all start shooting each other. And I'm like, oh yeah, and by the way, your cars are possessed by ghosts. And so I have like the cars driving over their cops and stuff.
We activated a cop car, so like the cops were hiding behind the car.
Yeah, you just like move
using
their
it as
cover.
And we moved the cop car out of the way, and it hits a gang member. But then the other gang members are like, we can kill those cops now. And they start shooting the cops.
So stupid. You can hack into a grenade on a cop's like waistband or whatever, and he'll just be like, huh? And it just blows up for no reason. Like,
It's
why
really
don't you
funny.
have digital grenades?
And they have little things like they were in the first game, like you can set off a guy's cell phone so it starts ringing like crazy, or basically like EMPs.
You can set up like a maximum overdrive bomb where all the cars just start going wonky and they're just it's got a lot of like silly nonsense.
So I will say is like
because like that's what the first game promised. You know, it's like it seems to be delivering on sort of what we thought that like a sandbox in a connected universe is. Yeah, that sounds incredible.
So I will say like on the downsides, I'm not like I don't think it's offensively bad. I'm not like overtly crazy about the sort of like DedSec hacker culture thing. I think it walks a very thin line of being like lolcat meme heavy. But on the flip side, like I was walking to work this morning and I saw 10 people that look exactly like people in that game.
Yeah.
Where you're like, you're a tech douche and you don't know how to dress and you have like huge, like bright neon pink, like leather high tops on and basketball shorts and then like a cardigan and like a backwards hat. And I'm like, who are you? What are you? The other thing too is that like as a San Francisco native, like it's tough. Is that a native when you live somewhere? I wasn't born here.
I think that means you're from here.
A resident. As a San Francisco resident, I've been here for 7 years. It's like it's sort of weird to see. It's kind of disappointing to be in a city that is so ripe for something like this, but it's so incredibly truncated.
Yeah,
like it's sort of a greatest hits of San Francisco.
Yeah, and that's what's so. I mean, I understand that it can't be 1-to-1 because that would be really hard to
but
do.
Could it be? Because I mean, this is a small city. It's 7 miles by 7 miles.
Yeah, but you'd have a lot of stuff that is boring.
Yeah,
like the fact that you can drive from like I know we're getting kind of in the weeds here, but the fact that you can drive from downtown to like Ocean Beach and it doesn't. You're not going through like 40
residential streets.
40, like basically, fun fact about San Francisco for people who aren't familiar: the western half of it is called the Sunset, and basically it looks like Cruising USA when you're going through a city and it's just the same, or the Flintstones, it's just the same house going by repeatedly.
And there's tons of N64 fog.
Yeah, there's just nothing there. Yeah, it's a really terrible draw distance, and there's there's a few jumps, but
and plus like the stuff they opted not to do, or the stuff they have instead rather, is like Silicon Valley and like Oakland and places that like you can do a little more with than just like extra streets and stuff.
We were only seeing like San Francisco proper, but they also have they have Silicon Valley, which is going to be cool. They've got like super realistic like ILM Lucasfilm area. Like
wow. Yeah, and apparently really cool. There's like Marin, like you can go right over the bridge and see some of like the mountain stuff, which is pretty cool.
I'm guessing it's going to be Muir Woods probably.
Yeah, and it's weird because it's like the first Watch Dogs took place in Chicago, which is a major metropolitan area, but there were also a lot of like weird outpost areas off in like forests and woods and like lakes and like areas where you're like, there were like straight up woodland areas where you went to go meet like retired kind of down and out hackers and brought them back into the fold of the reality of the major city. So I think you'll be able to do that a little bit here. Mm-hmm. That being said, it's sort of like making a game about New York City and having your car drive from Times Square to
like Brooklyn.
Yeah, to Brooklyn in half a second. Like I went to City Hall, and right behind City Hall is a neighborhood near where I live in real life, and in this game it was immediately Golden Gate Park, which was like immediately Ocean Beach. So it's sort of truncated. I think it's still gonna be really fun, and it's so like bright and beautiful and like.
But I mean, it's interesting because I don't. Damn it! I said interesting again.
That's okay.
I don't know.
That's weird.
A ton about like the main game. But like the story stuff all looks like Mr. Robot, like straight up. So it's funny hearing you describe it as like silly and fun and colorful, because like that's not at all what I feel like the story is.
I mean, the angle I'm seeing is that this is very much more like, this is like cyberpunk. This is like this is like Mischief. This is like hacker in the kind of classic movie hackers theme hackers. Like it's a bunch of teenagers getting into trouble, and there's obviously going to be kind of political themes, but it's got this kind of it's not the Punisher with a smartphone, it's punk kids with smartphones.
Yes. Yeah. And it's if you look at the antagonist, if you check out the story trailer that Ubisoft just dropped the other day, the bad guy in this game, like, who's the main character's name? What's his name? Marcus, I believe.
That sounds right.
I'm totally forgetting.
I think so.
Straight up punches the bad guy in the game in the face in the story trailer, which means he's not this like nefarious dude in a tower. No, he's some asshole that works at a .com, and you can go and be like, what are you doing?
Mark Zuckerberg with a man bun.
Exactly.
He's just like a very hateable, tech bro who says
Palmer Lucky.
Namaste at the end of a conversation.
Exactly. Yeah, and like he's doing yoga on the floor and you hit him. Like this is not some guy that you can't reach. This is a guy who's sort of like, you look at like the tech scandals that happen in the city all the time. You look at something like the Wells Fargo hack thing that just happened, where they're just like incrementally office spacing pennies from the dollar, fractions of a penny. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that I think you're going up against in this game. Whereas the first game was sort of like this, nebulous crime boss running this hacker network, and it was
which is such a video serious game thing.
Yeah. And I think this time around they're sort of like they're making it so if you want to stick to the script, you can play it seriously. You can be like, I'm taking down this criminal enterprise, but you also don't have to do any of that. You can just go outside and like it feels more the way we were mucking around out there felt more Saints Row than it did GTA 5.
Yeah, that's a really good way of looking
at it. And I think in the absence of either of those games getting a proper release this year, Watch Dogs has a lot of space to kind of to run around, which is nice because I'm always starved for like a nice crime-driven open world game in a cool city.
And if you want the serious one, you get Mafia 3 on the other hand. So
exactly. Yeah, and that's what's nice is like it's kind of like how Call of Duty and Battlefield are so different this fall for once. Like I love that. I love that like we have multiple open world games coming that are totally different. Like this fall, instead of like The Witcher and Metal Gear and things like that last year, which are obviously different in their own way, this year it's Watch Dogs, Mafia, or Final Fantasy 15, which are like the three like furthest polar opposites. Like I really like that. I like that not every game is going to feel samey this fall, hopefully.
Also, one thing I don't think a lot of people are really talking about, there are a ton of actual dogs in this game.
Oh yeah, they're everywhere.
Like tons. And I know there's a lot in San Francisco. In San Francisco, there are more people who own dogs than there are children in the city. That's an actual fact. There's more pet owners than parents because it's just easier to have one, and it dies after 10 years, and you don't have to put it in a crappy
we all
school.
got MacBook Pros, and we're sterile, so you can't conceive.
But there are so many dogs in this game, and some of them, like we're in Golden Gate Park, we just had an hilarious series of events there where we started pushing cop cars into lakes, and a helicopter came to fight us.
As one does.
And we fought it with a drone. But we found two dogs wrestling, and I forget what we did. Did we like EMP them or something? We started messing with them, and then police dogs showed up, and they were just real dogs and police dogs running around. You can pet them. You can shoot them.
You can take selfies with them.
You can take selfies with them.
Yeah, I think Alana and I were talking about playing and just hanging out with all the dogs.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff I just want to try in this game.
Yeah.
I think James Duggan told me that he got sort of molested by one of those R2D2 looking robots. Like
really?
You can go up, you can hack it, and it's got like different different kind of motivations. And one is like patrol, and one of it's like go to sleep, and what if it's just like a heart sign? And he's like, oh, it'll be friendly now, and it just goes up and it just starts like bashing into him, and it was like hurting him, and he's like,
what?
Yeah, so I don't know.
God, that's so weird.
Yeah, so definitely a weird looking game. I was excited about it to begin with, but I'm more excited about it now. I'm kind of almost relieved because
this makes me more excited for it.
I will easily spend 20 hours screwing around in this game, just having fun, and that's exactly what I want this fall. So
I think it'll be one of those things where I'll probably spend most of my time just running around the main map, doing side missions, doing cool stuff that like helps my character get better and learn new tech, which I'm really excited about. And then like the main campaign stuff, I'll get to it when I get to it, and I'll enjoy it. I don't think this game's going to get 10s anywhere. Maybe not even 9s, but it's good fun.
Or maybe it will. I don't know. Like maybe the story's awesome. Like that's like the full package is so important to me, right? Like I don't really care about GTA stories, but I love driving around in those games. I think having one or the other isn't always enough to like sustain interest. If you have both, like if it does have a super compelling story and I can mess around with it, like that sounds amazing.
We've also like there have been fourth quarters for Ubisoft where they're like, here's an Assassin's Creed game, a Far Cry game, a Watch Dogs game, all of our open world things at the same time. We're not getting any of those this year except for Watch Dogs. And I don't really feel truly fatigued on open world games. Like I think I started to by the end of last year.
And plus it sounds different enough that like this doesn't sound like an Assassin's Creed game that's been reskinned.
Right.
Like,
and I think what Max said is right about being able to bounce between this and Mafia 3 is going to be just a really nice sort of yin and yang.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I'm excited. Goldfarb, you're playing Persona 5 in Japanese.
I am, and I do not speak literally a word Japanese.
Okay.
Well, I guess a word.
We actually got a comment from Scott Tremper. He said, I've been seeing Andrew playing Persona 5 in Japanese with being unable to understand the text and character development relationships being so important to that experience. Has this ruined the game in any way for him? I know he was incredibly excited for it, and as someone who considers that to be my most anticipated game, I couldn't play it in that way.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. Like, I don't entirely disagree. It's a weird way to play it. This sounds weird because I'm playing the game, but I'm also avoiding spoilers for the game. Like, it's weird because I'm not, like, there are some things you can get visually in terms of like pantomime from cutscenes and stuff, but like largely by not understanding the dialogue, I don't really know what's going on fully in the stories. Like obviously like a party member will join or something and that's been obvious, but
does it feel like watching a movie on like Telemundo?
It doesn't even feel like that. It feels like watching a movie on mute. Like it's basically like I'm not playing on mute and the music is amazing, but it's just basically like getting everything out of it other than the actual character relationships and context. It's really interesting. And like the battle mechanics are incredible. It's a gorgeous game. Like I feel like I'm getting a grip on the systems now, and just by trial and error, like certain recurring menu options like visiting the dungeon and things like that, I can totally figure out. The menu itself, like the core menu actually is in English, or it's in both. So it's like system and equip and status and all like the RPG stuff you need is actually written entirely in English, so that's easy. But then once you're into those menus, drilling down isn't always easy.
Right. I was actually sitting there watching you play it, and it was really interesting, A, to see you so happy, and B, I was just like, I don't know much about these games. I tried to play the one on Vita and just couldn't get into it. I think someone told me you can skip the first hour, and I heard that wrong. That's and what wrong, they meant was you should pay attention to everything in the first hour. So I was like, why are these kids in school fighting a dog or whatever? I have no idea. But the art direction is incredible in this game. The menus, like all of the presentation around it is super cool.
Yep.
Even if neither of us had any idea what was going on. So to get into the nuts and bolts real quick, you imported this, which anyone listening to the show can do.
Yeah, it's on Amazon Japan. They ship wherever.
And it's region free, and it runs just on any US or anything, any PS4, right?
Yep.
So, because I tweeted out a picture of you playing it, and a lot of people were like, I'm so jealous. And I was kind of like, well, you can get this. Like, you can do that.
Yeah, it's a weird, you can buy it. It's about $85 all in to ship it, which is obviously more expensive than buying a normal game. So you have to be into it. I'm obviously still going to buy it and play it in English when it comes out. And I don't know how far I'll get in this playthrough. I'm kind of just playing until I run up against a wall at the moment.
Right.
My biggest thing is right now I'm like pretty far into the second dungeon at the moment.
How much time have you put into it?
Like 19 hours right now.
Good lord.
For a game you don't understand the dialogue of.
But it's interesting. Like, almost said it. The commenters call me out and saying interesting, so I'm trying to say interesting.
Okay.
Is
say fascinating.
Stopping. Fascinating.
Worldly.
It's
gorgeous.
Incredible that like I'm playing on very easy, because if I get poisoned or like any kind of status ailment, I'm just screwed.
Why? Because you don't know how to talk to a Japanese doctor?
I don't know how to use items or spells for poison. Like, healing items say HP or SP, so I can heal my like magic or health really easily. But status ailments, I don't know which status ailment it is.
I had
that, exactly. It's like trial and error.
I had that like Google Translate word lens thing,
but it's all stylized font.
See, that it couldn't even read it. Yeah. So that was the other thing.
Yeah, and like there will be English guides. They're in the works already. There's a site called Traduco Soft that's working on one, and then Persona Central will link out to it, I'm sure. Like, there's like plenty of ways that it won't be hard to play it. I'm just doing it so early.
Yeah,
like,
because the localized version doesn't come out in America until February, right?
February 14th.
Valentine's Day.
Yeah. Which is really nuts, because like that really reminds me of like growing up and playing video games in the 90s, where like you would read about stuff in a magazine and be like, oh, they got a Final Fantasy game like a year before us. Like,
yeah,
it
and
seems
that
like
never happens anymore.
No, because like, I mean, like European and English speaking countries are sort of like the lead skews when it comes to most major video game releases. But, you know, hardcore Japanese RPGs are still going to start there first.
Yeah, well, I mean, Final Fantasy 15 is not, right? Like, that's a worldwide launch, which is really cool of them. And I think, you know, maybe it made development time longer, but it's awesome that everybody gets that game the same day. They didn't do that with Lightning Returns, the last of the Final Fantasy 13 games. And so Marty and I did Let's Plays in Japanese, where, again, we didn't know what was happening. We were just kind of making up our own story as we go. We're doing that with Persona as well. So a bunch of those are recorded already. They should start rolling out next week.
You're making up your own story?
I mean, less so with this one.
All the girls love me, and I'm the king of the cats.
You do have a cat with you.
Here
right,
he
almost all
is,
the
the
time.
cat prince, back with his 40 girlfriends and $1 million. I'm Andrew Goldfarb, Mr. Persona.
So
who's here
happy
for
all the
smooching?
time.
Hey, so I wanted to ask, like, what do you think? What do you think it's gonna be like mechanically for like what's gonna stick out to people who have played Golden? Like, what's different and what sticks out to you as being like the most, you know, interesting developments? Because that,
I mean, it's crazy that like Golden obviously was a remake, but it was still a PS2 game, and obviously Persona 3 was PS2, so it's a really cool way to see like the jump in tech, because they essentially like Catherine came out on PS3 and was great, and then there have been spin-off games and stuff, but like for a core Persona game to like when you walk through like Shibuya, like the streets are crowded, and like in the high school there's like more people around in general, and like you can interact with everything. There are more buildings to go in, there are more like robust mini games, and it just feels like it caught up generationally. And I think that's sort of the first like, oh, like, wow, this is a 2016 game. Like in that way it feels really updated. But then at the same time, like if you've been playing Shin Megami Tensei games, if you played Persona 3 and 4, like it is still the same core game, which is really nice.
They didn't make
like,
it a shooter or anything. It's
exactly.
Still Persona.
Yeah, and that's what's so nice about like yeah, I'm playing in Japanese, but like okay, like I'm in the Velvet Room. I know the options are going to be to fuse personas or to like talk to Igor or whatever,
Right.
and like social links. Like if I mash a button enough and like a thing pops up that says rank 4, I'm like okay, I did it. Like I leveled up that social link. Like it's a really weird way to play something that you're familiar with because you kind of know what's going on. I feel like it would be. Like poor Mark Medina on our team is going to try to capture from this Japanese copy, having not played Persona games as far as I know, and I feel like it'll be 10 times more confusing to him.
Seems like a good
than
use
to
of his
me.
time.
Do you think you would do well in a Japanese school in real life now? Like if we just dropped you in a
Yes.
Japanese high school?
What have you learned from your time with this game?
I learned a lot about talking Japanese cats.
All right.
I like the idea of you just showing up to like a foreign country and sitting down and being like,
And I'm like 20 years older than everybody. It is cool that some of the little side activities and stuff are really fun now. Like you can go to the movies, which you could also do in previous games, but it's cool because like you go in, you see yourself in the theater, and you sit next to the cat, and like Morgana, the cat, like reacts to everything, which is very cute. Mm-hmm. And like she's in like bandit form in the palace, which is like the alternative to the Midnight Channel from Persona 4. And then in the real world, she just looks like a cat, but she can still talk to you. It's real weird.
All right.
It's
Beautiful.
great. We'll have those Let's Plays out. They'll be on youtube.com/IGNBeyond, probably starting on Monday, hopefully, maybe later next week. And then I'm also just on Twitter tweeting clips and stuff.
Cool.
It's
And if you want to
to
smooch Andrew, get in line because he's Prince of the Riches and all the cats and 50 girlfriends.
Yep. I heard 100 girlfriends. So they announced that there's going to be a Firewatch movie.
Yeah, this is a weird one.
Yeah.
Firewatch came out this year.
Yep, I think February,
yeah.
maybe, somewhere in there.
We talked about it endlessly on the show. You can go back and listen to that. It's like 3 hours long, 4 hours long, maybe. So you can probably finish it in a couple sittings.
Yep. And it also just it came to Xbox as well, but on that day they added in a new like audio tour mode.
Yep.
And it's really cool because it's not just like director's commentary. It's a separate mode of the game where you're in National Park is like the rough idea of that game. And now when you walk up to like the supply boxes, they've literally been like, it breaks the fourth wall. And it's like when you're taking like an audio tour of something, you put headphones on and you hit play on the thing, and it's like art with Ollie, and it's Ollie Moss talking about like how he designed stuff, and like you open up like the safe boxes where you used to be able to get supplies, and it's storyboards that you can look through, or like you can watch like camera tests, and like it's this really cool like almost like museum mode way to play the game.
Do we know if they're going to patch that into the PS4 version?
No, it is. Yeah, it is. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's on PC as well.
Oh, awesome. That's great.
Yeah, it's awesome, and it's a free update, and obviously comes when you buy the Xbox version.
Yeah.
But like this game has a lot of loving care in it, I think.
Yeah.
And if you aren't familiar with Ollie Moss, or if you are, like art-wise, I think that's the thing that's the most stunning was the visual style. Once you're into it, I actually love the story. The performances are some of the best ever in a game. In my opinion,
really like that game.
Yeah.
I know you weren't so wild about it, Brian.
I liked it a lot. I mean, I would have, like, if I had to give it a 1 to 10, which I hate doing for something like that, but I would have said like an 8. You know, maybe a 7.5 at the lowest. I wasn't crazy about the way it all came together, but one of my things coming out of it was like, I really enjoyed this, but I don't know if it needed to be a game, because I felt like the way it told the story might have worked better as like a short animated film that just shows up on Netflix one day.
Yeah. I think it also, I like that it was a short game. You know, I think that as far as these kind of, you know, is it a game? For lack of a better word, interactive experience, storytelling, whatever, that thing. I liked it, I think, better than Gone Home.
Right.
Because there's actually, the stuff you're doing feels more grounded. Like there are mechanics, you know, it's not just like looking for stuff.
Like we're not, you know, like Gone Home is an incredible game, and I love it, and I've played through it multiple times, and I recommend it to everybody. But it's about the self-discovery of a teenage girl, whereas this is more about, like, especially in the prologue, about sort of the collapse of a relationship, and about like very adult themes that I think obviously are going to resonate better with a 20-something dude.
I mean, I think it's more just that it's, you know, it's kind of the same, almost the same investment of time, but there's a sense of like, you're not just doing it all in one go, you know, like you're not just walking around a house aimlessly for 4 hours, which I felt like kind of was, or, you know, for 3 hours, whatever, Gone Home. But in this case, it's like, I like that there are breaks in like they're like, oh, this day is over. This thing happened. Cut. That's the end
Right.
of it. And that's one of my favorite things in when games do that. I think it's awesome to be like, oh, time passed, because that's a thing you need to have good pacing in a story.
Yeah.
Like in The Last of Us.
Because of that, I think this would work really well as a movie.
Yeah.
And honestly, like, that's one of those things you can iron out the problems you had with the gameplay by making it
I mean,
movie.
the thing to me is like, number one, I hope Sean Vanneman and Jake Rodkin are involved with the script. Like,
Yeah.
I hope that they write this thing. Number two, what I'm really curious about is the cast, because one of the things that sold this for me were those performances. I think with bad performances, this wouldn't be nearly as interesting of a game. And they're so pitch perfect that, number one, if you recast, it would be jarring to anyone who knows the game. But number two, like, assuming they stick to even the basic structure, you're not going to be seeing Delilah. You're spending most of that time with the main character, which is going to be.
I watched a movie over the weekend called Buried with Ryan Reynolds.
Oh yeah, when he's in the where he's buried alive.
Gets stuck in that box.
Yep.
Yeah. So that movie is entirely told from his perspective with his voice. He wakes up in a box, a coffin buried underground, and he's got 2 cell phones, a lighter, and a flashlight, and everything is told through just those items and those means. You don't ever see anybody else. You hear other voices and stuff like that, but that's about it. Tom Hardy did a movie, I believe it's called Lock, which is about the same sort of situation where he's in a car and he's just driving and he's on his cell phone or his navigation. There's a way of doing that, right? And Firewatch
or
is,
like Castaway.
yeah. Firewatch is predominantly one character talking to others who are mostly off screen or kind of nearby. And I think the idea of it working is really cool. Where I want to see is like, is this live action? Is this animated? Like, is it CG? Is it hand drawn? Like,
I mean, they didn't say. I can't imagine the point of doing a CG or hand drawn version, because at that point, like, I do think the game is the way to play it.
Yeah.
A live action adaptation would be potentially really good. I actually think it would make a really good play, weirdly. Like, this is the kind of thing that, like, it feels like when you watch, like, the movie Doubt with, like, Meryl Streep and Philip Seymour Hoffman, which is, like, very obviously adapted from a stage play.
Yeah.
Like, something like that.
is that the one where they're trapped in a coffin? I'm just kidding.
Yikes.
They got buried in the same coffin by accident.
I think that there's a way to keep something sort of in one location. There's obviously TV. There are a million bottle episodes of any number of shows. But the performance has to carry it. And, like, I really like Rich Sommer. I think he did a really good job as that character.
Well, you ever see Where the Buffalo Roam?
Oh, yeah.
Where it's Bill Murray playing Hunter S. Thompson. Did
Yep.
you see the Johnny Depp one first? And it's like, it's really weird seeing a character you're familiar with being played by somebody who's like a little bit not doing the same thing at all.
It's like the Willy Wonka remake.
Or like even like a James Bond thing, right?
Yeah, totally,
like it's like very jarring going from like.
In this case, I feel like the switch of format, like those are all instances of live action actors taking on different roles. But in this case, the fact that you're going from these like, this like Wreck-It Ralph hands like first person CG game with Ollie Moss art direction.
Yep.
If you switch that and made it like incredibly gorgeous, like cinematography in Yosemite with live actors and like,
So
maybe you start out, you show the relationship at the beginning. Like you actually should give some context to that.
Yeah, like
I think
the
that's what's
prologue is
interesting
seen
about
instead of-
storytelling in movies versus games. And we talk about video game movies all the time because they keep trying to make them. And, we've got Assassin's Creed coming out this year. What was it? Ratchet and Clank happened this year too. And it was just like, it totally missed the point. I think it's interesting that this game... I can say interesting, right? You can't?
Yeah.
This game is first person and you never see the main character's face.
Yep.
Right? You see his hands, you see his chunky legs. I love that when he's climbing up the mountain and stuff like that.
Delilah either.
It's also like most video game movies are a 90-minute adaptation of a story that takes 20 to 30 hours to play. This game is 2.5, 3 hours long.
Yeah, you could almost do it 1-to-1.
You can almost do it 1-to-1,
Yeah.
but I don't know if it would be the most interesting thing. So I don't know.
You cut out some of the parts where you're walking around looking for boxes,
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like exactly right. Like it's 3-4 hours, but if you cut out the actual gameplay parts of it, then it probably is only really in terms of like the control. I mean, not like cutscenes, but in terms of the story moments, it probably would only be like an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of things that work really well. Like one of my this isn't like I guess it's technically a spoiler for anything that happens. It's not like a story moment or anything. So I'll give it a second. But in that game, one of the cutest little moments is she asks you to describe yourself early on, and you pick traits. You say, oh, I have a mustache, or oh, I have an eye patch, and it gets ridiculous. And at the end of the game, or later in the game, you see the drawing that came from that. And like that's a really cool thing because it's interactive and because it means something that you saw what, you know, you told her you were and then how she made that look. So it's like a really weird, oh, we just got a PSVR.
Oh, wow.
Huh.
What does it say? Do not open embargoed.
Well,
We can't open it.
So thanks for bringing in a PSVR in the middle of the show.
Hold it up. Can everyone hold it up so everybody can see it?
So now you know how big the box is.
Wow, that is a big box.
It's about the size of...
Wait, are we allowed to say we have it? All right.
Well, yeah, I hope so, because we're recording this.
Yep.
Yeah, so we just got a PSVR here in the middle of the show. It is a box. It is
All right, we can't open it. We can talk about it. It says greatness awaits on the side.
Hold on. What is this? Let me see here. Okay, so one end of the box is about the size of a piece of office paper. And then it's, I don't know, maybe like a foot and a half. What is that? Like 14 inches, do you think?
Yeah, it says contents PSVR, or VR headset connection cable, processor unit, stereo headphones.
We might not be allowed to get into all that.
HDMI cable, USB cable, AC adapter, AC power cord, VR demo disc, lens cleaning cloth, and printed materials. So there's a lot of cables. You've probably seen a lot of pictures of a guy sitting in a room by himself wearing this headset. You're going to have that, but you're going to have that with a lot of snakes.
Yeah.
Just big, long cables.
Yeah, really cool. Here we go. This is a PlayStation VR. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Man, I really want to play with one of these. I want to sit and do a podcast. Anyway.
I hope I'm in Brian's picture right now.
Yeah. Sorry, we're posing for a picture in the middle of the show. Anyway, yeah, so Firewatch movie. Really got derailed there. I'm super down with it. I would love to see. I think also it's the fact that because it is an indie game, it's a small studio like Campo Santo. They're not. It's not like, I don't know, like Paramount came up to them and they're like, we want to make a movie based on this video game. It's not like.
Well, and I like that it's proportional, right? Like I love the idea of doing this as a low budget thing, shot on location in Yosemite or whatever it is. Like that sounds awesome, as opposed to, hey, a big AAA game like Assassin's Creed gets a big AAA movie like Assassin's Creed. I think that's like a totally reasonable, like 1-to-1.
Yeah.
Super excited to see what they do with it. Skeptical that we ever actually see it.
Yeah.
Like there's so many video game movie announcements where I'm like, all right, like when I'm in the theater, I'll believe that's a real thing.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
What?
I don't think this has. Oh, it has the VR demo disc. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You read it. You literally read it.
This isn't the one with the Move controllers.
No, it's not. It's not.
This is the
camera
core.
either.
Yeah.
Yep. It just on the back it says you'll need a camera and a controller.
So we got some Beyond Good and Evil 2 concept art by way of...
and we don't even know... Yeah, this is a weird one.
Yeah, it's Michel Ancel's Instagram.
Yeah.
So here's the story with this.
He doesn't even officially say it's concept art. It can be fan art.
It's got a man with a pig.
He literally just put it out there, and so we don't know context. We don't know...
It's also like, it's weird because like he's working with his studio. Is it Wild Pigs or something? Wild Hogs?
Well, he's Wild Hogs. He's working on that game.
Martin
Wild.
Lawrence and John Travolta,
which is not. That's the even more confusing thing, is that he's making that game. He's also
that's totally separate from Ubisoft, but he's still at Ubisoft Montpellier, and obviously worked on the Rayman games. He, as far as I know, was involved with the UbiArt engine. And this concept art is all kinds of weird questions because it's a piglet. It's like a baby version, and there's some man in it that we also don't know. Like it's not. This isn't like a direct sequel, which is what the footage of Beyond Good and Evil came out in like 2010 or 2009. And it was like test footage where it just looked like a very pretty HD Beyond Good and Evil, but basically the same thing. And now they've been saying it's still happening in interviews here and there, but then there's rumors it's canceled. There are rumors that Nintendo's funding it now and it's Nintendo exclusive. Like there's so much all over the map, and it's just so weird having no idea what's actually happening with this game. Yeah, it's cool.
Hopefully this is teasing something, and later this year we'll get, the Game Awards or PSX, or if all that stuff is happening again, which I assume it will, then hopefully we see something.
You and I were talking about how it's a little different than, say, like a Last Guardian or Duke Nukem Forever or whatever, because it's never really been officially confirmed to be in development.
Yeah, and we haven't seen it.
So it's not like they've been it's not like one of those games where it's been on 3 different consoles and generations, and it's moving through time, and people are just kind of kicking around ideas and toiling away for 8 years. Like, it's a thing that you can tell people want to do, that they put out concept art for, but it's never actually been confirmed that this is a game that's actually happening.
Yep.
Which kind of sucks. Are there any ways to play the original Beyond Good and Evil on
it's on
PS4 currently?
I honestly don't know.
I don't think you
I don't
can.
know if it's on.
What did I play it on?
Did you play it in HD like last generation?
I know.
It might have been on PS3. I don't know.
Yeah,
I
you
can't
probably
remember.
did. So
Yeah.
it might be playable through PlayStation Now.
Yeah.
If you've never played it before, it's a really sort of cool, kind of modern day-ish Zelda-like game.
It's just weird as hell.
It's weird, yeah. It's starring this woman named Jade, who's a photographer, and also has like a bow staff that she used to fight, and she has a bunch of animal friends. So it's sort of like a kind of a grounded Star Fox starring a human woman, who also has to go into temples. And the photography element's cool because it's very Pokemon Snap. She's got a hovercraft that she uses to get around the map. There's Rastafarians that work in a auto body garage.
Yeah,
There's-
it's real French.
There's like Italians that call you a lot and give you photography jobs. Really cool game, very special, very unique. Definitely from a sort of bygone era of gaming. And yeah, it's very beloved. I'd love to see it return in some capacity.
I don't know. There was Beyond Good and Evil HD on PS3. I don't.
I think I played that. Probably not on PS4 then.
Well, I was trying to find if it was on PlayStation Now. It doesn't look like it, but I'm honestly not sure.
Well,
I could
somebody
be
will
wrong.
probably email us, let us know.
Yep.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, I just thinking about something like this that was unofficially sort of not announced, but discussed and kind of half revealed in, I think it was 2008. I think I was looking up.
It really is that far back. Yeah, it's something in there.
And the first one came out. What year was that? 2000.
Somewhere in there, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
It kind of reminds me of like Dennis Dyak's Eternal Darkness
Yes,
thing,
totally.
where it was like we got one game, people really liked it, and then for 10 years they were like, we want to make another one, we're thinking about it, we have concept art, we have a Kickstarter, David Hayter's part of it, and then it all just kind of flutters away.
It came. It was 2003. It came out on PS2 and PC, and then the 360 PS3 HD version 2011.
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, it doesn't have, it's a beloved classic, but it doesn't really seem like the kind of thing that has a live and kicking fan base. So it's
definitely.
like, if they're gonna make it, it wouldn't surprise me even if they were like, hey, here's a game called Beyond Good and Evil. It's like, is it a remake? Is it a prequel? Is it a reboot? Like, what is it? Like kind of the same approach to Tomb Raider. I think that makes much more
Mirror's
sense.
Edge. I mean, like what they just did with Mirror's Edge. It's technically a prequel rather than a sequel, and it sort of was meant to bring people into that world in that game in that universe. And as far as we know, it didn't do particularly well. So maybe that's it for Mirror's Edge. Like, I worry about Beyond Good and Evil in the same way. I think there really is some really cool novel gameplay there, and it does feel like a Zelda for everybody else. I don't know how that would play. I honestly don't.
Well, I felt like Mirror's Edge was aiming at the audience that loved the first Mirror's Edge, and then it let them down. Whereas I feel like a game like this needs to swing for the fences and just be like, this is a like modern day open world ish.
It would be
action adventure.
There's
And
no
that's
way that they
Ubisoft's
would.
thing.
Yeah, there's no way that they would just like throw the same mechanics from the game from 2003 in there.
No way.
It would be something completely like we saw that one little bit that was just incredible. It was gorgeous looking. It was pretty much looked like an Assassin's Creed game with a pig in it. You know?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, okay, I'd be really down for that. I'd love to see something of the the same level of polish as Assassin's Creed or Watch Dogs or Far Cry, but it's got a weird fantasy element, and they're kind of missing that in their
We're also like we didn't get a brand new 3D dedicated Zelda game from Nintendo this generation. We got Wind Waker HD. We got Breath of the Wild next year, which is like who knows what consoles that'll land on where. We didn't even get like a Darksiders or anything like that. So you're kind of like at a loss for a Zelda-like game on PS4.
Plus, like, look what they did with Far Cry 3, which was like, obviously, shout out to Mitch Dyer and many other people of Far Cry 2, but the way that Ubisoft took the original Far Cry, which is nothing like Far Cry 2, 3, 4, Primal, and kind of took something that people knew but reinvented it. I would love to see them do that to this.
Yeah.
Be awesome.
That's a great idea.
All right, now it's time for a segment of the show we call Rapid Fire. Are these from Facebook this week?
These are from Facebook this week.
The facebook.com/group/podcastbeyond. And every week Brian goes in there and asks for cool little short, mini, tiny, little fun-sized, bite-sized questions filled with peanut butter and caramel. And this week,
a lot of those are about peanut butter and caramel. It's weird how many people ask food questions.
I like that. What's on my shirt? And we're like, you have to come closer and let us lick it off.
Lickable
Like
wallpaper.
weird little dogs.
Is it skull pineapples?
What? Yeah, that's my shirt. I got skulls and pineapples. One of these things will kill me. The skulls or the pineapples. You never know which.
Together at last.
Guillaume Druin says, do leaderboards still matter in 2016? This is a really good question.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think so. I think it depends on what kind of games you play. And I feel like I promise you this is the last time I will say the words of Resident Evil 4 on a podcast. Someone called me out on it the other
No,
day.
it's absolutely not.
For a while. I finished that game the other day on professional mode, and it was like, do you want to upload your time to the leaderboard? And I was like, what? That's a thing you can do? in this game from 15 years ago, okay. And I wasn't particularly proud of it, but I just kind of threw it out there. And then I went and looked at the leaderboards, and I was like, oh man, I'm terrible.
Yep.
Like people
Yeah, it's
are
always
awesome.
a wake up call.
Dude,
yeah.
like that's the same deal with like Metal Gear Solid or Metal Gear 5 Online, that the whole like weird massive leaderboard
Yeah.
system where they're like, here's what your PMC rank or whatever is. And I'm like, oh yeah, it doesn't matter. It does. I'm bad at this game. I know that. And what I really like is the leaderboards that compare you to your friends. I think that's the sweet spot. I think Sleeping Dogs was the first game that had one of those, like, it didn't have an online mode, but it would have weird stuff like where you were just driving around the city. If you're like, oh, you're doing a clean drive, and it would be like, it would start a little counter, and it would tell you like your friends, if you beat your friend's score, it would be like, oh, like highest score, you know, somebody can drive for 60 seconds without crashing into a mailbox or whatever. And if you do something like that, I love that approach. I think that was kind of the basis for... Was that Need for Speed?
I was just going to
yeah.
say, I was looking at which, Most
was it?
Wanted. Yeah.
Most Wanted, yeah.
Need for Speed Most Wanted does such a good job with that.
And it's
yeah.
like, I think it's a really great way of doing it. And it's, you know, it's an online component, but it's not intrusive. It's not like you're getting notifications of people being like, I want to challenge you. But you wind up start kind of gamifying like weird little like just passive mechanics. Like,
Yeah, it's like downloading ghost data in racing games is pretty cool. Like there was a weird time. Do you guys remember Game Center on iOS?
Yeah.
Where like it was every game was connected into it, and you didn't really have a choice whether or not to use it. So I don't know how I even connected with a couple people on it, but me and Per Schneider and Nate Ahern and I think Greg Miller and a couple other people were all playing a bunch of the same iOS games at the same time. And they all had leaderboards, and we were playing. One of the games we were playing was Jetpack Joyride, which is like the perfect pick up and play casual game where they keep dropping more carrots in front of you to keep getting better and better. And in the middle of playing it, like you'd get a run of like 10,000 meters, I would pass Per Schneider, and I'd be like, "Oh, I just beat my boss!" Like that's awesome. Like little things like that are really cool. I think when they're happening during the game, but you're not really thinking about them the other time. It's sort of like passive competition. I'm really into that. In terms of looking up where you rank in the world, it's humbling and it's miserable, and it always makes me feel like I'm crappy.
Yeah, 100%. And I honestly think that like it's a really weird. I think to the question, do they matter? Yes, they 1 billion% matter, because I think there are certain games like literally every day I'll play the Splunky Daily Challenge, specifically check the leaderboards, and I think it's like worth checking up on like how you're doing in a game like that. But even leaderboards that aren't natively part of the game, like the speedrunning community, like it's crazy how you can look up any game and find like divided by category like how people are doing. And I think when that's baked into a game, it's even better. Yeah. And so I think it keeps the community going. It sustains it for longer when you have a way to compare yourself to people who aren't in the same room as you.
Well, I really like the documentary King of Kongs, even if it sort of ends. It's weird how that movie ends, because like, I mean, it's the same thing with like, this is a weird comparison, but I watched the Anthony Weiner documentary a couple weeks ago, and the day I finished watching it, 6 more sex scandals popped up from that guy. Yep. And the King of Kongs thing, minus the sex
popping
scandals,
up with him.
Exactly. It's his dunk. The King of Kongs thing just ends with it being like, this guy won, ha ha ha. And then you look up the scores now, and it's like a guy who wasn't even in the movie has the best Donkey Kong score. But like, shout out to communities like Awesome Games Done Quick. They do really cool stuff over there. It's not necessarily leaderboards, but I love that pro level, pro play type of thing. And I think if every game introduced the sort of way to watch streams or watch footage of a guy who's got at the top of the leaderboards, like that's sort of like, I don't know, like you just watching a match from a pro player directly from the leaderboard would be really, really cool. So I think there's room for it. Everybody wants to be number one. Everything is gamified. So that's a thing I want to keep seeing happen.
Yeah.
Hey, really quick, we should say that I'm adding it so that someone can write it.
What is it?
Because the PSX dates just leaked and location. So on Sony's site, there's a registration thing that at the top says PlayStation Experience 2016 Anaheim Convention Center, December 3rd to 4th.
All right.
So that's on Sony's official site. I'm writing an email right now, reaching out, and someone's writing this. But yeah, just if that's right, then Anaheim and first week of December.
All right.
Cool. Billy Martin III said, do you see social media having brought more negativity to entertainment and media, or positivity?
I mean, both.
It's a heavy one.
Yeah. I think more.
What it's like the vocal
more negativity.
More negativity. Yeah.
It's that vocal minority thing, right? Like I think it's easier to get online and complain about something than it is to get online and say, "Hey, I loved this thing."
Yeah.
And so I think social media gives a lot of people a place to gather to either lift something up or a lot of the time, unfortunately, drag something down.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
I mean, you talked about this like I think it was in regards to like the DC movies. You know, like if you have a piece of food that obviously DC movies, some people really love them, so I don't want to go down that whole thing. But like if you have like some food that's gross, you'll tell your friend like, oh my God, you got to try this. It's awful. You know, this is disgusting. But you just tell your friend. You don't go out and like sing its praises. You're not like, this is the grossest food I ever had. You got to try it.
Right.
It's like maybe kind of in the moment, like this is a stupid movie. You should check it out if it's on streaming or whatever. And I feel like there's a similar thing that happens with social media where people will be more compelled to like leave a negative comment than they will to have a positive comment.
Yeah.
Because like maybe like a positive thing, like maybe you'll like share something, or like that's the viral thing is when you find something that's cool enough that you want to pass it on. And that's, I think there's also like a weirdness with the whole call to action thing where YouTubers are like, share and subscribe, and it's like when people feel like they're actually being addressed directly. Guys, don't be afraid to like and share and subscribe our podcast because we appreciate that. But it's like, whereas if people get the sense that there's not a person there on the other end, they're more likely to just be like, this video sucked. I didn't like it one bit. Thumbs down, unsub, dislike, you know?
Yep. I mean, Greg used to talk about that all the time where he would put up a video and someone would comment and be like, oh, you're a damn idiot. I hate you. You suck, blah, blah. And then Greg would reply and be a human being. And then suddenly they would reply and be like, oh, sorry, I had a tough day. I got in a fight with my girlfriend.
IGN?
Exactly. Yeah. And so it's like, as soon as you humanize it, I think it reminds people it's like, oh, like someone did this or made this.
A couple of years ago, me and Scott Bromley, who used to work here, who we do the Comedy Button with now, who does a Star Wars show, which you should watch every Wednesday at noon on StarWars.com. Plug. You're welcome, mother.
Sorry, Brian, I think you blacked out.
We were coming back from lunch, and we noticed that a building down the street was getting torn down, like wrecking balls and everything. And we texted our boss, and we were like, hey, we're going to be like an hour late because this is awesome. And we stood on the other side of the street, like Beavis and Butthead, and we yelled Slayer, and we watched this building get torn down. I've never stopped to watch something be constructed.
Yes, correct.
You know, like demolition.
Conversely, traffic jams.
Yes.
People will absolutely stop to see a burning car.
Yep.
They will not stop to look at a sunset.
Right, and you've always said a cop never pulls you over and goes, great driving back there. You know? So I think like demolition gets more eyes than construction, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's a better thing to watch. A big problem we have now with social media, and I harp on this all the time, but I'm going to do it again because why not, is that there is no like twisty slide with a bunch of hiccups and bumps in it between your brain and your mouth or your keyboard anymore. It is just thought, vomit. It's not like, I have an idea, I'm going to think about this. Like if you were in a class and someone told you something, you'd raise your hand, you'd wait to be called on, and you'd hopefully eloquently explain yourself in front of the whole room. But with social media now, you watch a trailer for something and immediately you go, sucks, hate it, fart, garbage, poop. You don't really get to think about it for a second. So I urge you, if you're on social media, to just give it a second.
Yeah, and also don't be afraid to like, share, and subscribe my personal YouTube channel, which is like, hate it, garbage, fart, poop.
That's right. Also my favorite hashtag.
All my trailer reactions.
Yeah. Hey guys, great show today. Hashtag like, garbage, fart, poop.
I down just a big thing of Epicac, and then I just watch all the latest trailers.
To bring some positivity to this, I do think that there's a lot of good that social media brought. Not necessarily always because they take a bad thing and get people's eyes on it. I think that happened a lot, I think, in the last few years in terms of like the argument about diversity in games, which are actually sort of seeing the direct ramifications from now. People called out things that were pretty stupid, and things are getting better. And
not only that, but like, I mean, number one, like 100%, you're totally right that like it calls attention to issues that are really important, and that it's a direct line to access to developers and to publishers and to people who need to hear that stuff. Yeah. But number two, just peer-to-peer. Like it's so important having people able to gather around and form communities like we were just talking about with AGDQ, with the people who follow certain games, even with stuff like the Beyond Facebook group or like the Kind of Funny Best Friends, and any number of groups that get together and have a common interest and are able to share that not just twice a year at PAX, but together online 24/7. Like, I mean, there are like 11,000 people in the Beyond Facebook group, and I don't know what that would have looked like in '98.
That's just like
it's a cool
comic
pen
book
pal
convention
organization.
or whatever.
Yeah.
And I also think there's accountability now that comes with the sort of ramifications of spouting off about a video game. Like everything is historically stored now. You look at Sean Murray talking about No Man's Sky, and people were able to pull up tweets from him. Like I don't necessarily think that always should be like the villagers with the pitchforks and stuff like that. But there's a history.
But that's a good thing for accountability.
It is.
Yeah.
It is, and it's important.
Yep.
So, and it's also not to mention all the charities that have come together, all the GoFundMe's, all the people who are like, my house got robbed, and Sony's like, oh, we saw that tweet, we're going to send you a PS4.
Yep.
Like, there's good there. I think just people need to be responsible in the way they use it.
Yep. Yeah, it's a big can of worms there. Corey Faust says, if Sony releases a follow-up to the Vita, how do they make the larger mainstream audience care about it?
I don't think they can.
No. I don't know.
Can't.
Yeah. I think the only way they'd possibly do this is, first of all, the Vita name is just dead. They would never call it that. I think that was a bad name to begin with.
I like it.
I never liked it. It says Lindsay Lohan has that tattooed on her thigh. This is poor Vita. They should have hired Lindsay Lohan as a consultant.
I love the Vita. I still play it basically daily.
It's awesome.
I think there's great stuff on it. I don't know that dedicated handhelds. I mean, like, and success is a weird metric, right? Because I think they can be profitable probably if you get the exclusive hardware, if you give people a reason to buy it. But I don't think we will probably ever see a dedicated gaming handheld sell 50 million units or anything.
The operative word there is dedicated.
Yeah.
I mean, if they made a phone built from the ground up to be a gaming phone, and it was tied into the whole PSN, if you could,
the Xperia Play.
Well, no, that was made under Ericsson.
Yeah.
Like the Xperia Play was exactly a poor example of Sony kind of fragmenting its departments too much. That did not have the support of PlayStation. Like it had some buttons on it, but it wasn't like that was just a throwaway. I think that was one of those things that got the ball rolling on it. And then they were like, oh, we're also doing the Vita, and they were like, record scratch. Like maybe we don't want a little place, PSP Go phone. But if they were to be like, hey, we're making a phone that is totally a functional phone that works, that you go to make something that's competitive with actual phones. And it's not just, it's not just a gaming phone. It's a phone that's got, it's got a good camera on it. It does stuff, but maybe it also has some, a D-pad on it. Yeah.
I mean, it's that weird thing where like if you made a Android compatible, super pretty, strong, powerful phone with a great camera and also with like gaming controls, or even actual, like, it's a peripheral, but it's literally a Sony like dual stick thing. Maybe something like that. I don't know at that point why. Like that just feels like so much R&D and so much risk for them.
Well, it's like
I think if they did that, it would still come down to software.
Yeah.
It would still come down to, what am I playing on this that I can't get anywhere else.
Yeah. And I always look at it like when you have your Vita or your 3DS, it's a dedicated handheld, specifically tethered to the idea of using it predominantly for gaming. But if you want to check the web browser on them, you could. It's just a cumbersome experience. Yep. Whereas your iPhone does everything and also plays some games. And for most people, that's enough. Like my iPhone plays video games on it, also has a really nice camera on the back. But if they asked me if I wanted to spend an extra $200 for a version where a better camera popped off the side of it, I'd be like, no. I don't think so. But if you said the same thing for video games, like why would my phone, of all the things it does, also have these go-go gadget arms that shoot out a D-pad and some buttons on the side? So I think most people deal with how cumbersome it is to play a video game on their phone at the benefit of the ability to be able to also use it as a camera and web browser.
And to not have to carry around like
an extra thing.
I don't want to carry my phone and the analog attachment and the extra battery pack.
Yeah.
And it becomes an issue of just convenience, and having something very easily accessible in my pocket that I have anyway will never be there can never be anything easier than that.
Let's say that all the rumors about the Nintendo NX are true, and that winds up being the next Wii. Do you see Sony ever being like, oh, hey, by the way, we're releasing a phone that has two clip-on things that act as controls, and it's built from the ground up with architecture that supports remote play?
So if the NX is that successful, like if it came out and really sold 100 million units, then like everyone would emulate.
Well, I think one of the coolest things about the NX rumors, which I think Sony could lean into, is that the NX is rumored to be the first console that has access to the entire mobile library, which means that instead of So Nintendo being like, we're making a mobile phone, they're saying mobile games come to us. So if Sony's smart, they'll say, hey, mobile games come to PlayStation, and then you get everything in one place.
I mean, I would imagine what that means is it will play Animal Crossing, Fire Emblem, Mario Run, and Miitomo.
Yeah.
I don't think it literally means like you can get to the App Store from it.
Yeah.
I think it's just saying it will support Nintendo's mobile games. So I think, again, it's all about software. Like, I think if Sony...
we'll see where that
if you
goes.
really want mobile games on your PS4, they release Angry Birds, and you can pay a solid
$60 for the trilogy.
I think the coolest way to solve this is in 10 years where cloud-based computing is so powerful that you can access any game anywhere, to put out this sort of shell of a Vita that's basically just an empty Vita, doesn't even have a ton of onboard storage, that's just accessing the cloud. And I can play Bloodborne 3 on a train in Paris wirelessly without having to think about it. Then it's a completely different story, right? Like, but the whole idea of like popping in little cartridges or UMDs or disc-based games or anything like that, it's gone. It came and went. Shout out to Ryan McCaffrey here at IGN, who just did an interview with Jack Tretton about the Vita for a little bit. He did a thing called IGN Unfiltered, which is his long-form interview show. He's leaned into a lot of Xbox people, and people complained, and he got one of the biggest PlayStation names of all time. So go check that out. It's a really cool thing.
Yep, for sure. Yeah, he talks about the strengths of the Vita and how maybe it was too late.
So cool.
It was too
also,
late.
it was really weird walking by that guy in the office and just being like, oh, hey, what are you now? Oh, you're not announcing anything. You're here.
Remember when you were on stage and I was watching? I think, I hope that if they are actually in R&D on a new Vita, and I'm sure they have at least somewhere in some room discussed it, I would hope that they have a better solution than just, it's a Vita, but now it's twice as powerful and the battery's better. Like it needs some kind of game changer. And I think one of the reasons you see things take off in a big way are normally when they just have some outside of the box idea everyone else didn't think of. And maybe that is NX. I mean, that was Wii. I don't know. I would love another Vita. I think there are ways you can make me care about a Vita. I don't think there are that many ways you can make like the mainstream care about a Vita.
Yeah, it's just rough.
Yep.
Tahoe Ria Nevada says, how often do you finish games? Not often enough.
Yeah, there are a lot of games. So here's my thing. I am a crazy person when it comes to needing to complete something, even if I don't like it. Like, I will watch till the end of a TV show I'm not enjoying. I will keep playing a game I don't enjoy. And I hate myself for doing it, but I do it because I always have this like naive optimism that it'll get better or it'll redeem itself or there will be something I want to be able to talk about or whatever.
It's called sunken cost fallacy.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's really what it comes. The main reason why I finish a lot of games, movies, TV shows that I might have been falling out of love with in the middle, or I can actively see are getting worse. What were you saying before? The Steppenwolf's triangle.
Oh yeah, I forgot if it was Steppenwolf, but somebody was talking about triangle shows.
Yeah.
Where they basically start off really strong, they peak, but then they have a sharp decline at the end.
Yeah. So you get that a lot with games where it starts off like this, gets absolutely amazing in the middle when your character's super powered, and then you find you're going through the motions a lot. Open world games are especially hard for me to finish.
Well, and there's so many games where it's like BioShock 1 or Arkham Asylum or games that I consider some of my favorite modern games where I don't care about the ending. I never talk about the ending. Like, the things I enjoy are the early parts. And so I don't know, and we actually just ran a thing that I think you guys did in Up at Noon about great games with bad endings.
Yeah, that wasn't us.
Did you guys do the opposite? You guys did bad games with good endings?
I think we've done something like that.
There was one or the other on something somewhere on IGN.
We did just the weirdest endings.
Yeah. But I think like there's a weird balance between getting people hooked at the beginning, which is hard to do, but I think the thing you see the most often, and then sustaining that and making me want to do that thing, find that cool gameplay loop and I enjoy it, but then making me actually want to do it for 5, 10, 20, 30, 100 hours.
And then there's the fact that like there's two things working right against games. Is one, that they are the only medium that pushes back against you. Like, they try to stop you from completing them.
Yep.
They'll be like, oh, I'm a boss. You don't know how to
got harder.
fight. Yeah. Oh, that's exciting. And then the other hand is they also have so much padding because they are expensive, and there's a kind of expectation to be like, oh, this needs to be this long of an experience, or we spent so much time developing this mechanic or this level or this world or this boss or whatever that let's get our money's worth, and let's put, instead of having a room where Nathan Drake kills one guy with a shield, there's 5 guys with a shield, and it's like this kind of,
it's the bat tank again. Like stuff like that where you're like, I was super excited the first time I got in that car and I started driving around, and then by hour 15 of it I was like, you're just doing this because you built it and you want to show it off.
But it's also there's the opposite problem, which is that something is so compelling. There's like a Diablo or Destiny or Borderlands or whatever it is, where you are so into the gameplay loop and you want to play it over and over and over and over that like you're not going to go finish a quest or a storyline necessarily. Like in those games, and I think GTA is guilty of that for me personally. Like I have so much fun with sort of the systems and the gameplay that like I don't finish it. Like I've never beaten GTA 5 because honestly, like I love playing GTA 5.
Well, because if you ask anybody's favorite memories of an open world game, they're not going to tell you the beginning or the end. They're going to tell you about some cool sort of weird thing that happened in the middle. Yeah. Like even I think about Watch Dogs. Like I hated the protagonist of that game. The ending was bad, but I had a lot of great moments in the midst of all of it.
Yeah, and a lot of games like that literally have a point of no return where like you have to like to complete the game or to finish the story. You have to stop having fun in the open world, and it's like to me.
I don't think that open world games have beginnings or ends. They've got like entrances and exits.
Yeah, that's a really good way to look at it. Yeah,
there's also a lot of games they make now that just don't even have endings, like sports games, arcade games, like Pac-Man Championship Edition 2. I was playing over the weekend. Like,
he gets Miss Pac-Man pregnant.
Yeah, and they have that Pac baby. Yeah, there's no endings. You can either just play it forever, or you can play it for 5 minutes and be like, got it.
All right, so Tyson Troy Dalguy says, how much longer until we've had a president who grew up on 16-bit games, Grand Theft Auto, and or Banjo-Kazooie?
What do you have to be, 35 minimum?
Yeah.
And then most are closer to 50, 60. So figure if you were born in...
years.
Yeah, if you were born in 1990, then so 2040, I guess.
I mean,
2030, 2040.
I mean, I'm 35.
You're not running for president.
I'm not running for president. Yeah. I grew up on 16-bit games, so I think that's like really interesting to sort of just be like, if I started running today, I could, on my official Facebook page for Brian Altano for president, I could be like, and I'll help find all the puzzle pieces in Banjo-Kazooie. Yeah, and a bunch of millennials would be like, I got that reference. Like, it's so stupid.
I mean, well, and that's the difference between when is it possible? Literally right now.
Yeah.
When is it actually going to happen? I think 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
Like before somebody who and it's also like the weird part is that the reason it's going to take so long is because that person can only take office and take power when the older generations have all retired or moved on or passed away. So it's like that weird old guard to new guard thing.
There's also got to be that thing where like it doesn't come off as the corniest thing in the world, because like you've had politicians before who've been like, these kids diddling their thumbs with their Pac-Mans, and you're like, what are you talking about?
I hope we can Pokemon Go to the polls.
That gave me just
anyway. But yeah, that being said, like Obama watched Game of Thrones and listened to Jay-Z and hung out with Jay-Z too, and then had like a Wii in the house.
Yeah, that's true. It's a really good point actually.
The Polish Prime Minister brought a copy of The Witcher 2 and was like, hey, this is a game we made, and he's like, oh, this is awesome. We mostly play Wii in my house.
Yeah.
CD Projekt Red was like, fine.
I think it'll happen.
Yeah,
eventually it'll happen. Yeah, it's an emergent medium that's become increasingly popular.
Now, Brian Altano for president.
A twist I wanted to add to this was how long before
a twist I wanted to add to this
before we find the tweets from a president being like, GTA sucks, and we're like, hey, we found your old tweet calling out GTA.
I mean, I think a little bit similar today, but yeah.
All right, and then finally, this is not a very rapid fire. This is like a very kind of rhapsodical. Alex Tittensour says, "Can I get a Beyond for my second wedding anniversary on the show, please?" Absolutely not.
1, 2, 3.
Beyond. There you go.
Happy second anniversary. Yeah. I got mine coming up soon too.
What's the second anniversary? That's like the balsa wood anniversary or something?
It's called Tinsel.
Yeah, that's the leaf you found at the park anniversary.
Yeah. Yep.
Is All Dang Sign the New Year's song?
All Dang song.
Oh dang.
Oh dang.
All right. Dang song.
So thank you guys for listening. We had fun here. We have a good time. Are they kicking us out yet? No, not yet. We're good. Anything you guys are excited about these days? Like, what's new? Aside from the PlayStation VR that's in front of us, this sucks. It's like,
I'm thinking I shouldn't have got my PSVR delivered to work because I'm gonna have to lug this thing home on the train. This is a much bigger box than I thought. I'm excited for PSVR. I have a feeling I'm going to play it for a little bit and then just put it aside until new stuff comes out.
I'm going to wear mine every day. I'm going to put it on my head and wear cool sunglasses, a future man of Johnny Mnemonic hats.
I don't have a personal one ordered yet. I'm really excited about it. I've played
How come you guys didn't? Was it because you missed the window on it? Or
no, not at all. No, I had it. I actually had an Amazon one that I killed. Same thing with PS4 Pro, only because it's not there for me yet. I played all in a row, literally back-to-back appointments. I ended up playing Batman or Arkham VR, and we played Battlefront, and then I played the Tomb Raider, the new mode, and all three of those are wonderful. Like those are awesome VR experiences that have come the closest. But to me, there's still not $400 worth of stuff there yet.
I don't know, money. Like I got other stuff I should spend money on. Like I'm having a wedding next year, like a literal, actual, real life wedding, not a virtual wedding with some Japanese girl who's running into my apartment. I do want to play those.
Summer lesson.
I do want to play those weird ass Japanese. There's one. There's one called Happy Manager, which is about you play as a landlord who's the manager of a house with 3 women living in it, and it's like I heard about this. I'm like, that sounds
Just
like
your life.
This is like a terrible game. I have 3 women living in my home, and it sucks. They don't clean out the dryer lint. The cat box that needs to get done.
Yep.
I think for me too, like
Cottage cheese all over the fridge. Yellow cottage cheese. It's disgusting.
That is so gross.
Yeah, it looks like larva or something.
Of
it's
all
disgusting.
like if IGN did the top 100 cheeses, cottage cheese wouldn't be on the list.
Yeah.
Because that gets vomit behind the back of the list.
I like cottage
What?
cheese sucks.
What do you do with it?
Eat it.
No, like do you put
Kiss
it? Do you
it.
put anything on it?
I would sooner use cottage
mix it with a
cheese
bunch of
to make like a
spinach
fake,
and-
mix it
fake
with
vomit
spinach?
for a movie.
Yeah.
For
That's
what?
awful.
To scare away a guess? You put it outside and trick-or-treaters don't
The
come
thing
by?
about PSVR is that we have one at work, so we're in the unique and lucky situation where like I don't need to order a personal one yet. Obviously, I know that's different for
That's
people at
another
home,
Japanese
but,
game
yeah.
is unique and lucky situations.
Coming to Vita 2
Yeah.
mobile portal.
See, I paid for a wedding 2 years ago, so bring on the anime women in my face. I don't know. I don't really know what I'm gonna. I have one pre-ordered and a PS
Pro.
a PS Pro pre-ordered, and I'm doing that really weird
Like
thing
that
where
weird
Well, you can
tongue twister you
PS
just
Pro
did.
to the polls.
I'll definitely be doing that. But I'm constantly teetering between canceling my pre-order or not.
Yep.
Like I don't know what to do because the Pro I think you'll be able to walk into a store and get whenever you want, but the PSVR is completely sold out for what looks like the rest of the year.
My thing with PSVR is I want to wait. I think any new tech at launch, you're usually better waiting for 2.0, honestly. And the other thing is like when I'm ready to buy it, when that killer app comes that is so cool that I want to spend the money, there'll be a bundle with it. Like there will be better deals at that point. Mm-hmm. And honestly, like maybe I'm an idiot and it'll be sold out for the next year and I'll have like nothing but regret. But I think truthfully, and I'm the same way with Pro, like I'd rather wait. I think with PS4 Pro, of course there will be bundles, there will be cool custom editions, there will be all this stuff down the road for when there are more games supporting it and when people have had time to build a game from the ground up for the Pro rather than adding support halfway through development.
Yeah.
Like I just feel like there's so many more pros to waiting than cons. Yeah, maybe at launch I'll feel left out a little bit and yeah, like your games will probably look better at launch certainly than mine will, but I don't know. I'm fine waiting 6 months, and then for the VR games I'll play them at work. Like I'm just lucky enough to be in that situation right now.
That's true. Yeah, I don't know. Having played the Battlefront thing, that was pretty much what I was holding on to. But then again, that's an 8-minute long demo.
Yeah. That's my thing. Like every VR game that we've played that is really, really cool is at most maybe an hour and a half long. Like we don't know how long the Tomb Raider thing is yet. I think that is incredible. I think it would be, for me right now, just not the best use of my money.
Yep.
When I have so many Persona toys to import.
I need to get a second PlayStation so that I don't fight over the current one with my
Persona
fiance
comes.
because she wants to play Persona. That's like an actual thing. I gotta get it on the TV. It's
Just get another
20
PlayStation.
million copies. You heard it here first.
I'm torn. Do I get a Slim? Do I get a Pro? Or do I get a refurbished one? Like what do I do there?
I mean, I'll have a refurbished one for sale in a month, so we can talk.
All right.
That's just used. That's not referbished.
It's just used. What does refurbished mean?
The refurbished when they like do stuff in the factory and
They
make
go in
polish
and
it
they
all
go
up
That's
and
when
they
a high
clean it.
schooler at a game store puts a tape on
They
the
bring
back
out Mark
of it.
Cerny and he just whispers to it. You're all better now.
Refurbished.
Yeah. I don't know. I think my big thing is that this fall I'll probably, I really want to just go get a new 4K TV, but I feel like if I wait 6 months, it's going to be a much better
wait for
Or at
Cyber
least wait for
Thursday
Black
or whatever the
Friday.
hell it's called.
Yeah, I mean Black Friday, Cyber Monday, but honestly, I would even wait into next year because like a bunch of new stuff is going to get announced at CES, and maybe they announce the first consumer
Cyber
price
January.
4K TV.
Well, here's the thing, and this is such a first world problem, but I really want a 75-inch TV, and I feel like they're right now they're like $3,000, and if I wait a year, it'll be the same price as they'll be like $1,600.
Yeah,
and I'll be able to just get a goddamn movie theater in my house.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know what's gonna suck is moving that thing.
Nah, you pay a guy.
All right. You just get the one man's gonna carry that
my
TV.
TV.
Have you ever seen a moving man?
32
They can put a
inches.
whole couch on like their back. You ever seen a guy lift like a sectional like one of those like just hulking Wreck-It Ralph looking
Dude,
dudes.
when I moved into...
Have you ever hired movers?
Yeah.
When I moved
you ever
into
see
my
a guy just
first...
take a sofa and put it on his bed? He's like, I'm ready to
They
go.
look like the Wet Bandits.
It's
when
insane.
I moved into my first Brooklyn apartment, there was one dude who got out of a truck and in his arms carried my mattress and box spring up 3 flights of stairs without stopping, and then he got in my bedroom and put them down, and his face was bright red. He was covered in sweat, and he just said, water, and then he drank like 9 glasses of water.
I have so much respect for people like that because it is
incredible.
Did you guys have sex after that?
And we're married to
That's
this
a
day.
traditional New York courtship ritual where the man carries the bed up 3 flights of stairs.
Water was their safe word.
Bring me water and sugar. Turns out there was a giant cockroach from space inside that man. Oh, man. Yeah, I like it when we just hang out and just
Yeah, sorry we kept going. I mean, if you use this show to sleep, hopefully you're really in there.
Yeah, we should probably wrap
deep
it up.
in a REM.
But yeah, thank you guys for joining me because we do this every week and we keep doing it next week. We keep on coming back.
What an outro.
On that note, you can follow us all on Twitter. I'm Max Scoville. Brian is Agent Bizzle, and Goldfarb is Garfep. So go follow him for that the cats and the little anime people there.
Her name's Morgana.
Okay. Beyond.
Beyond. What a weird. What? That's so. All right.
Are you weeping?
What does that mean?